Hi, I'm Eric Hutchinson. I'm the principal broker and owner of Hutchinson Realty, and this is video 12 of the Negotiating Your Next Home video series. I hope you'll watch the other videos in the series, but today we're going to be talking about item 29, the buyer's disclaimer of Reliance. Now, this isn't a really well-known paragraph. Not many buyers know that it exists on the contract because I think a lot of realtors kind of skip over this paragraph, but it's a really important paragraph. And so I want you to read it and think about it. And buying your next home, I want you to make sure that you understand it because it's a really important paragraph on the contract. So let's get into it, shall we? So this is item number 29. And if you'll notice that it's written in all caps. Now, if you know texting etiquette, you know that anytime you use all caps, that it's like you're yelling at the person that's reading your text, right? So the Arkansas Realtor Association has legal counsel that writes this contract, and they are speaking very loudly to you about what this paragraph is and what it means. So let's take time to go through this. So the buyer's disclaimer of Reliance says a buyer certifies buyer will personally inspect or have a representative inspect the property as fully as desired prior to closing. Now, if you will remember back on the video that I went over the home inspection, item number 16 on the contract, I made it really clear that I never recommend buying a house as is. So if you understand what as is means, it does not give you very many rights. So I always recommend if you want to try to negotiate the repairs, you can say, hey, I'm going to buy your house and not ask you for any repairs, but it's still contingent upon a satisfactory home inspection. So this paragraph just reiterates the importance of doing a home inspection, but it's not only a home inspection. If you'll read a little bit further, it says that that the buyer has not or certifies that buyer has not and will not rely on any warranties, representations, or statements of the seller, the listing firm, selling firm, or any agent, independent contractor, or employee associated with those entities, or information from multiple listing services. Now, let me just stop there for just a moment. A lot of buyers think that that MLS sheet that we give you whenever you go look at a house, that's like the Bible, that is law. Well, let me tell you what, there's a little tiny sentence at the very bottom of those MLS sheets that said information deemed reliable but not guaranteed. In other words, we think that it's accurate, but we cannot guarantee that or warrant that. So if you have an MLS sheet that says that the property has so much square feet or the taxes are this or all that information hopefully is correct, but guess whose responsibility it is to determine if it's correct? It's your responsibility as the buyer. So this clearly states that in this paragraph. And again, that's why it's in all caps. But it basically says that you're not relying upon the multiple listing service or other websites regarding mineral rights, year built. You have to do your own research on whether or not the house was built whenever everybody says that it was built, including without limitations, the square feet, improvements located on the property, the quality, value, or condition of the property, including without limitation, all improvements, appliances, plumbing, electrical, or mechanical systems. However, buyer may rely upon any written disclosures from the seller. So there is a seller's disclosure that at my company, we always require that a seller fill that out for the buyer because it protects the seller against liability, but it also helps the buyer to know anything that the seller knows about the property, and anything that the seller puts in writing on that seller's disclosure, you can take to the bank, or the seller is liable for anything that he is deceitful on that form. So I will tell you that you can rely on any written disclosures provided by the seller. The listing firm and the selling firm cannot give legal advice. Let me say that again. I cannot give you legal advice. I am not an attorney, and most realtors are not attorneys. And so please understand that we cannot give you legal advice. If there is something that you want to know, if there's legal ramifications then you need to talk to an attorney. We cannot give legal advice to buyer. Listing firm and selling firms strongly urge the status of title to the property, covenants, deed restrictions, condition of the property, mineral rights, and square footage of improvements, questions of survey, and all requirements of buyer should each be independently verified and investigated by buyer or a representative chosen by buyer. Now, let me make this clear. This is not a law. You don't have to do a survey, and you don't have to do a home inspection, and you don't have to verify anything, but you're responsible for those items once you buy the property. Once we close the property and the property is considered legally yours, everything is your responsibility and it's on you. So if you find something after closing, then and you didn't research it, then you're stuck with it unless the seller has been deceitful and told you something that was not true on the seller's disclosure. But it's really important that you verify all those things. Now, I'm going to move over to another form that my company has every buyer fill out and sign. So this, and I know it's a little small, so I'm just going to tell you, this is called the buyer's disclaimer, and it's not required by the Arkansas Real Estate Commission to have this in a permanent file, but we do it so that the buyer understands that they need to research this property the very best they possibly can. It talks about mold. It talks about the existence of chemical or drug substances that could be on the property. I mean, you just don't know until you inspect the property, right? So also it talks about sexual offenders in the neighborhood, and it gives you a website that you can go and check that. A lot of buyers forget about that until they move into the property. And so if you've got kids or if you are concerned about that, you really need to go to that website and check it out. Also, if the property's in a flood zone or not. Now, I live in Bella Vista, and almost none of Bella Vista residential houses are in a flood zone, but in other areas of Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers, all have certain areas that are in a flood zone, and you should check to make sure that this house that you're interested in is not in a flood zone. So these are all things that you need to research, and that's the reason why my company requires that in our permanent files, that a buyer signs that and have been disclosed that they need to research this property. So that kind of goes hand in hand with this paragraph that I'm reading to you now. There's also a letter B, and it's not a real long sentence here. It just says buyer agrees to sign page 4 of the inspection, repair, and survey addendum prior to closing. If buyer accepts the condition of the property and intends to close on the property. So page 4 of the inspection repair addendum, and that's an addendum that we present after you've done the home inspection. And I may go over that in another video, but it's a 4-page inspection addendum that we add to the contract after the buyer has done the home inspection. And we list the repairs, and then the seller either agrees or disagrees with the repairs the buyer is asking. And if the buyer and the seller come to terms, then right before closing, usually the buyer will do what we call a final walkthrough. And in that final walkthrough, we look to make sure that everything was repaired that was supposed to be repaired. And the buyer signs off on page 4 of the inspection, repair, and survey addendum. It says, hey, I've looked at the property, all the repairs are done, and I'm ready to close. We call that the final walkthrough, and they sign page 4. Now, that is required by the Arkansas Real Estate Commission. If they do an audit on one of our files, it has to be in the file. So it's required, and all realtors know that we need to have that signed by the buyer. So I will tell you here, if you sign the contract, you are agreeing to sign page 4 of the inspection, repair, and survey addendum before you close. So I know that that's a big paragraph here, and to be honest with you, I haven't talked to a lot of buyers that even know this paragraph exists. This is on item number 29 on the real estate contract, and a lot of times people just skim over it. They say, oh, that's just lawyer talk. Well, it's more than lawyer talk. It puts the liability on you as the buyer to find out if there's anything wrong with the property. So I hope that this video has been informational to you. And just remember to do your inspections. Check out the neighborhood. Check the house. If you have any question about foundation, get a foundation specialist. Get an engineer if that's a real question that you have. Make sure you've got 10 business days according to the contract. Get your home inspection done. Research that property as good as you possibly you can, because after closing, it's on you. It is your responsibility. So, again, I hope that this video has been informative, and I hope it helps you in negotiating your next home. You can always reach out to me at info@hutchrealty.com, or you can message me from this video, or you can visit our website where you can view every listing in Northwest Arkansas. So I hope to hear from you, and I hope you have a blessed day.